Hi everyone, it's Carissa at Sprinkled with Glitter. For today's card project, I'm going to be using this stamp set from Paper Tray Ink. It's called Finery. And I'm also going to be using the coordinating dies that go along with it. And I thought I'd quickly show you here that I store my stamps and the dies all together in these DVD pockets. Now Avery Elle has something that's specifically made for stamps, and if you're looking for something like that, you might want to check those out. So I've cut all three feathers out from some vellum, and I'm just going to be using the largest and the smallest of the feathers. So I'm going to get my stamp onto my stamp press here, and the stamp press is really going to help me to align it over that vellum piece. It's going to make it a lot easier because I can adjust as I go down. So I've decided to stamp these in some Delicata Golden Glitz ink and just coat that up really well and then stamp it onto the vellum. Now, you'll see here that when this pops up that my die cut stuck, and it actually worked to my advantage because I didn't quite get it stamped all the way. So I'm just running my finger over the back of that paper piece to transfer the ink to that vellum there. So you'll see me pull this off here, and this stamp set is so beautiful. You can't quite see it in the video here, but it's so delicate and beautiful. So I'm going to stamp the small feather as well, and you'll see me just adjust that down over, and then I have both of my feathers stamped and ready to go. Now the stamp set also has these dots that go along with the feathers, and I'm going to stamp those in some Coral Bay, Studio Calico Coral Bay ink onto the feathers as well. And it's just kind of a cool way to add a little more interest to the feathers and some color to them as well. So you'll see, it's kind of hard to see here, but there's just a little bit of pink on those. So I've stamped the dots on both, and I'll set those aside to dry. And through the magic of television, I just happen to have a set that's dry here. I'm going to bring in a piece of scratch paper and that same Coral Bay ink. And this is flipped over to the back side. So it's not the part that I did the stamping on, it's actually the back side. And I'm just inking the back side, just the edges, with a little bit of that Coral Bay ink. And I'm using actually a makeup sponge here. So I find them useful in the bathroom and the craft room. So just gonna do that to both of the feathers and then set those aside once again to dry. Now this piece of cardstock is cut to 4 1/4 by 11. It is called Blush cardstock, and it's from Paper Source. I'm going to go ahead and score it at 5 1/2 to make a top folding A2 size card. And to get a really nice crisp crease, I like to go over that crease with a bone folder as well, and that just gives you a nice finished look. Now I wanted to stamp these little dots onto the card base itself. There's 3 little dots, they're kind of a striped dot, and I'm just mounting them all onto the same block, and that will allow me to stamp them together. Now one thing that you want to do when you're stamping something like this, these small images, and you mount them all on the same block, is you're going to want to stamp and then kind of turn your stamp as you're going along so that you don't get the exact same pattern, or it kind of tricks the eye that it's not the same pattern. So you'll see me stamp it once, and then I'll kind of turn my stamp again and then stamp, and then you can turn the paper as well. And I'll just continue doing that all the way down, kind of in a diagonal pattern down the card there. And then after I got those all kind of stamped, I went back in with the smallest one and just filled in some of the areas that I thought could use a little more color or gold, or, that looked a little bare. So I just went back over that. For my sentiment, I'm going to be using the Signature Greetings 2 stamp set. It's also from Paper Tray Ink. And since this is a bridal shower card, I chose this Always and Forever stamp. And I'm just using my grid, the lines on my grid mat there, to mount it straight onto my block. So I'm going to ink this up in some Golden Glitz ink again and stamp it on a piece of this blush cardstock. And you'll see me here that once I stamp this, I'm going to bring in my trimmer, and I'm going to create a banner. But on the bottom, I'm just going to cut up to the edge of that F, and then I'm going to pick up my blade and then cut again on the other side of the F. So I didn't cut through the loop on that F. And then on the top, I'll just cut straight across. Now, once I get this, so I have this piece here and you can see that it's kind of attached still. And then to complete the banner, I'll just trim around the bottom part of that F so it just kind of hangs off the edge of this banner shape here. Now I'm just going to lay this onto another piece of pink, kind of corally pink cardstock here, and just kind of get an idea of where I need to trim that darker pink cardstock and trim a little strip off. And then I can just mount this blush piece to the darker pink piece using some ATG adhesive. And it's just to give it a little matte, and because it needed something to pop off of the card base, just to kind of give it a little definition. I'll go ahead and cut that left edge into a V shape here. I just cut up the middle of it and then trim from one side to that point and then the other side to that point, and that just gives me a really nice V shape there. So once I get that done, you'll see me kind of position things on the front of the card here, just figuring out where I want things. And I decided that these feathers needed to hang down a little bit further on the banner. So what I'm going to do here is just take these scissors and just cut right across it. Now I'm going to hide this seam in just a bit with the banner piece itself. So it'll just kind of extend that feather and make it look longer than it actually is. So I'm just mounting all this with a little bit of foam adhesive that's also going to hide right behind the banner, and those are the only bits of adhesive that I have on these feathers. And I ended up trimming the smaller one as well, so you can see how that'll hide right behind there. I ended up trimming the smaller feather as well and kind of mounting it, as you can see there. And then I'll just mount this banner piece right over. I decided to trim that down just so it didn't go all the way across the front of the card, and then I will mount that right over those cut feather pieces with some dimensional adhesive. So I'll place that there. And then I decided I wanted to add some of these gold sequins. These are the Color Theory 24 karat sequins from Studio Calico. I'm just taking a bit of this matte multi-medium and I'm just dipping the sequins into that and then placing them on the front of the card. Now I looked at this card and I thought, gosh, it just needs a little bit more pink. So I'm taking these dots again and that Coral Bay ink again, and I'm just going through and adding just a little more pink to this card. For the final step, I rounded the corners with the 3/8 inch We Are Memory Keepers corner chomper, and there is my card today. I just let that feather kind of float freely at the top. I didn't worry about adhering it. For more information on the products used in this video, you can visit my blog at Sprinkled with Glitter, and the supplies will also be linked over at YouTube as well. I hope you enjoyed this card video, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Thanks for watching.